The purpose of this video is to show you how to utilize the circular pattern tool, both the two-dimensional or sketch mode circular pattern tool or the three-dimensional circular pattern tool. They operate slightly differently, and they're both sort of important to know exactly how to utilize. I will be doing the spinner project that you all have already completed. But again, just to show you the difference between completing this object using the two-dimensional sketch circular pattern tool or the three-dimensional circular pattern tool. So let's start. I already have the geometry pretty much set up the with the 30 millimeter circle with the 15 millimeter bore, along with the lobe, which had an outer diameter of 30 millimeters and an inner bore of 20 millimeters. I have that already set up in my Onshape sketch. And if you forgot or did not know exactly how to make sure that your work units were millimeters, you really just need to go to the three bars next to where it says Onshape, the document menu, and go down to workspace units. And then from the pull down menu, make sure you select millimeters and then hit the green checkbox to accept. So going back into this sketch, I have it here. I can now use the circular pattern tool. Again, that's usually hidden underneath the linear pattern tool. And notice that if I hold my mouse without clicking, the little directions sort of pop up that help you utilize the tool. And it gives you the steps, like step 1 is select the tool. Step 2, select the entities to pattern. Step 3, specify number of instances, etc. So let's choose this. We're going to choose the entities to pattern, which are these two that make up the lobe. And automatically, it creates a circular pattern 360 degrees of however many instances you want. So you can see this 3x right here. I can kind of pull that out, and that is an editable dimension. So I could change that to 5 or 6 and get 6 equal patterns all the way around. For the spinner, we really only need 3, so we can change that back to 3. But notice that the pattern is always revolving around the origin. Now that I have my pattern and I have my circular pattern all set, I just need to hit the left mouse button to accept this. And I am essentially all set and ready to accept and close the sketch. And then I can just do my extruding of the various parts of the spinner. It required a 10 millimeter depth. You'll notice, and this is a problem many of my students have, that it's more of a ghost extrusion, and they always wonder why. But ultimately, you also need to include these sort of open overlaps here that aren't extruded yet. So you have to go down to the original sketch and select those overlaps. And once you select those overlaps, you will notice that it turns into a solid extrusion. I can accept and close the extrusion, and essentially there is my spinner ready for the intersections to be filleted. Now, what I really want to do was show you how to utilize the 3D circular pattern tool, which again is hidden underneath the three-dimensional linear pattern tool right here. But what I first need to do is have some solids. So again, I'm going to extrude the middle, and that needs to be 10 millimeters, and accept. I should have also extruded that little piece. But I also need to extrude the lobe so that I can do a circular pattern of that. So what I really need to do is turn that sketch on so I can see it and make a new extrusion. So this would be extrusion 2 of this outer ring. And again, 10 millimeters. Notice Again, it is a ghost extrusion. For some reason, SketchUp does not like it when it's not a completely closed polygon, or there's like circles in this case that are tangent. It does not like this. So what I need to do is temporarily hide the first extrusion so that I can get this little missing piece that gets extruded, and then I can unhide that part 1 from my part menu here and hit accept. Now notice these two extrusions are different colors, which means they are completely different parts, part 1, part 2. I kind of need this to do the circular pattern piece. So now I'm going to do the circular pattern. Now, circular pattern does not rotate specifically around the origin. It's going to rotate around any line that you draw. So we need to include a sketch of a line that goes vertically up out of the origin. So that means I need to create a new sketch. And for my sketch plane, I can't choose the top view. I really need to select the front or the right side to get a line that goes vertically up through the spinner. So I'll choose front, and I'm going to zoom in here so I can see the origin. And I'm going to draw a line, but it's going to be a construction line, so I'm going to use construct. I'm going to highlight the origin and kind of pan out a little bit, roll out so that I can see that I've snapped to vertical and I've drawn this vertical line. And that's all I need. So I can accept and close that sketch number 2. And that's given me a line to actually create a revolution around. Now, just to sort of help explain so that you see it, I'm also going to, in Sketch 2, I'm going to draw a horizontal line through that origin. I'll just go like this, accepting. So you can see the difference in the circular pattern. So now I'm all set and ready to do a circular pattern. I have some lines as an axis. So the circular pattern in the three-dimensional tools, again, requires me to select the object that I want to pattern, and then it specifically asks for the axes. So I have to select the axes. If I were to select this axis, you will notice I get the rotating around that line. If I select the axis as this vertical one, you will see that I get rotating around that line, the pattern. And again, I can choose the number. So, it could be 6. You get an equal number of patterns all the way around, or for the spinner, really only needs to be 3. And I can now accept and close my circular pattern tool. And essentially, I have my spinner ready to go. One step before I can do a fillet between the lobe and the body, I would need to union, so make all these pieces one solid. And I would do that using the Boolean union tool. And I can simply draw a big box around all those objects, accept, and you can see that they're all one color now, which allows me to do a fillet of the intersections here, and I can go around and do that. And whatever it specifies in the drawing, I can change that fillet here. I believe the drawing says fillets, edge fillets 1 millimeter. It does not actually specify the fillets here. So maybe we'll just stick with 5 and hit accept and look at the top here. And there is our spinner pretty much ready to go. Thank you very much. And hopefully you learned the difference between circular pattern tool for the solids menu and the two-dimensional menu.